this is Eugene from Reflective Learning, and in this video we're going to be looking at some issues that may crop up along the way as you are looking to run the diagnostics. Like any piece of technology, there are sometimes problems that can crop up, especially when systems are speaking to each other, and so we just want to run through some of the most common ones that we've come across and how to deal with them. Right, the first has to do with the logging in process. So when a learner logs in, if you remember from a previous video, they have to have exactly the correct information for their account. Otherwise, they're going to run into problems. So the first thing that we sometimes run into is a difference between the class list that's given and what the learner might consider their first name or their surname. So double check this part of the list, right, to double check that that a learner has actually inputted that incorrectly. The next part to look at is also whether a learner has put in perhaps a capital letter or has put a space where it shouldn't be, or a full stop where it shouldn't be. So sometimes this happens as learners are putting it in, especially this part over here where maybe they put in a comma instead of a full stop. That needs to be exactly correct. Another thing to look out for is, because the password is obviously a private password that's put in, sometimes a learner may have put on caps lock or may have a capital letter in there. To simplify the whole process, we always make sure that the first name is lowercase letters every single time for ease of entry. Okay, so once a learner has logged in and maybe they have started their assessment, okay, sometimes there are some issues that can crop up along the way here. This little loading bar that you just saw over there, if the internet connectivity is a bit slower than what the assessment requires for instant sort of access, you might find that that rolls around more often, and just be patient with that. The assessment will eventually pop up. So if a learner is logged out by accident as they are completing the assessment, sometimes this can make the learners a little bit anxious because they're worried about them having completed half the assessment and lost their answers that they put in. They don't need to worry about that. The answers are stored as they go along, but all they need to do is just go in through the logging in process again. So again, with the internet connectivity, if they click in order to answer and this keyboard takes a little bit of time to pop up, that's the same thing. It's just taking a bit of time to load, and it will get there eventually. So towards the end of a page, you may remember this validate numbers or validate section in order to check whether answers have been put in for every single question. So if a learner clicks on that, and for instance it shows the validation, sometimes what happens is that if they go in and they actually fill in all the answers and they go back and they re-click on the validate, sometimes it doesn't show that everything has been answered. But if they have gone through and answered all the questions, that's perfectly fine. They can just ignore it and they can move on. Right, so then the next bit has to do with the fact of some of the images that work down towards the end. Let's say, for instance, somebody is answering this one, which blocks could be put together to form this combined image below. If a learner clicks on an answer and it doesn't turn orange, or if it disappears, right, again, even though they have clicked on the space, the answer has been recorded. It's perfectly fine. They can actually move on without that. And sometimes you might find that these images don't load at all. The reason for that is that there could be a firewall issue within the network that the learner is taking the assessment, and if it's high security, it may not allow some of these images to download. So it may be a requirement of actually chatting with the network or IT technician in order to help make sure that these can load up. So those are some of the most common troubleshooting issues that we've come across. If you do have any other concerns, you're more than welcome to send us an email, and we can keep updating this video with all the common issues that crop up along the way, or even better, we'll solve them on our side where possible. So thanks very much.